Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you and Serena today. Thanks for the invitation. I've got the difficult task to warm up the audience, so don't hesitate to say, hey, Fabrice, okay, I understand what you're saying. The topic today is to share with you what is the first attempt in AccorHotels using artificial intelligence. It's just the beginning for us. Just to have a quick background, I joined AccorHotels 2 years ago, and 2 years ago, the data within AccorHotels was just business intelligence, basic business intelligence. So we tried to build up during the last 2 years our collective intelligence, and now it's we got a quite consistent data lake where we can find different data about our customers, about our distribution figures, about our channels, about our figures about finance. But also we are able to track a lot of external data, like pricing of the competition, like events, like weather reports, etc., etc. So today we're able to cross all these data and have an holistic approach of our business. And we've awarded a lot of users to access to this data lake, especially the revenue managers, the business analysts in Central, but also from the hotel. And we've got 4,000 hotels around the world. So these people were able to access the data lake with different tools to make their own analysis. The strategy about the data in AccorHotels, we've got three main levers. Yeah. First, we want to fuel up the revenue. We want to speak about revenue, not trying to make data products which are very useful but without any profitability. So we focus about the revenue. The second mission is to be more predictive. Because in hospitality, you have to know what will happen in the next 405 days. So the more predictive we are, the better we are to get pricing, channel management, customer relationships, etc., etc. The third objective is to enlarge our capabilities about the data. Means that it's not only a question of technology, it's also a question of how to gain access to different people to the data products we're producing and different tools with different level of expertise. The strategy of data AccorHotels globally is how to improve the customer journey with different steps. We've got 7 different steps for the customer journey. If I cross the general strategy of AccorHotels with the data strategy, what we want to do is to be more predictive, so use the revenue management forecasts to give an overview of what will happen at each steps of this customer journey. And then use data science enablers to provide new insights and new way of action on the different steps. So this is not artificial intelligence so far, but just to get an overview of what we're doing. And for example, the first step is, okay, how to acquire new customer. During the dream phase, when you want to go into a trip, and you're just dreaming about the trip, and say, okay, where could I live during my trip and in this destination? In this dream phase, our job is to acquire customers and to invest on Google search and different acquisition levers to make sure that when we try to find out an hotel, we're able to capture them. And how to improve our investment into those different levers, because it's very, very expensive, and we're fighting against Booking.com and other pure players that have huge budget to invest on the Google search. So if we are predictive and we know exactly where we need to gain new customers in hotels, for which periods, we are able to say, okay, for this week where we are in need period, we need to invest on that destination for this feeder market. Feeder market for me is, do we want to target Chinese, UK people, or domestic market to put people into these hotels? And now we are able to get algorithms to say, okay, if you need that, we know that during this period, this is the feeder market we have to address, and we have to invest this amount of money at this date. This is just an example, but you've got different examples here. If I come back to artificial intelligence, I wanted to present you 3 use cases, because 20 minutes is very, very short. Yeah? I used to make this presentation in 3/4 of an hour. So the first one is a chatbot. When I prepared this presentation, I thought, okay, the first use case you got in mind when you talk about artificial intelligence is chatbot. It's not the more complex. It's quite easy to get chatbot. We need it. And when I've heard that a famous bank has deployed a kind of artificial intelligence in their agencies to help customer representative to use the chatbot and to recommend products and make the first steps of the relationship, this is very useful. For AccorHotels, chatbots, we cannot use chatbots, for example, in the booking process, because it's too much complex. If you want to use chatbot to say, okay, what kind of trip do you want? What kind of hotel do you want? What kind of room do you want? It's easier and cheaper for us to do it with individuals, not with machine. So we use chatbot in another way. This way is a quite funny way. We want to recommend our customers when they are in a hotel to get what we call the local secrets. You know, if you stay three days in a hotel and for leisure, if somebody tells you, okay, you should go on this street because there is a secret passage, or you should go to this monument because behind that you will find something we don't think about but it exists, or try to get this new restaurant because it's the best in town, using a chatbot to do it is very interesting. It's a differentiation with the competitors. It's much more agile in front of the different kind of customer you can have in front of you. So we use it with a great success. And the chatbot himself, well, it's based on the Facebook Messenger. He's very human, but he speaks like a guy which is like, you can recognize his accent if you're in UK or in the US. It's not a question of accent, but in terms of words he uses. So it's very close to the customer. It's very human and very fun, and it meets a great success. Second one is much more interesting. Today, when you try to get a room in a hotel, you say, okay, I go to this destination. I want this kind of hotel, 3 stars, 5 stars, etc. I want a double room with king-size bed. I want to have my breakfast. I want to get a free Wi-Fi, blah, 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 all the features of a hotel. Is it today the right way to choose an accommodation? We try to do it differently. And we try to discover your mood when you want to travel. So we use a partner for that. But the idea is, don't choose the hotel by the features of a room. Choose the hotel corresponding to your mood of your trip. How to do that? When you land on the first page of this Accor mood, this is online, we will find it. You can find the first page and say, okay, what kind of ambience do you want? Do you want a cozy ambience? Do you want a view? Do you want a gourmet ambience? What kind of ambience do you want? Then you go to a second page and you say, okay, what is the decoration around you? Do you want something modern? Do you want something vintage? Do you want something which is very functional, etc.? So second way of choosing your hotel. Third way is, what do you expect nearby the hotel? Do you want to be on a resort around the beach, or do you want to be downtown? Do you want to have something which allows you to get shopping quickly? Okay. And the third page is, okay, if you want to have extra activities, are you with your family? Do you want to play golf? Do you want to have exciting spa and bien-être moments, etc.? So you pitch on these different pictures, and then an artificial intelligence engine can recommend you a list of hotels that correspond to your mood. So to do it so, we have analyzed on the internet and on the social networks what are the keywords which are linking the mood and the hotels. When you can find somebody on TripAdvisor say, okay, this hotel is fantastic because the decoration is great vintage decoration. And by the way, I play golf because it was just near golf and didn't imagine that. We track all these words and we say, okay, this is the repository of defining the mood of each hotel. Then we put it we cross it with experts, with the features of the hotels, and of course with NLP and deep learning, we're able to set up a correspondence between moods and hotels. And it's very attractive for the customer, and I think it's a really new way, a future way to do it. The last use case is narrow, and it's most business-oriented use case for us. Narrow means the net RevPAR optimizer. The RevPAR is the revenue per available room. It's the key KPI for hospitality industry. Is how much do you get of revenue from each room you're able to sell. So it's linked to the revenue management. What is the future of the RMS? It's revenue management systems. Today, the revenue management is softwares and revenue manager in a hotel in its place, and he try to find out what will happen in the next weeks or months, and say with the immediate neighborhood if he's in price competition above and under the competition or not. Today we are developing a new system centralized based on artificial intelligence, which is able to capture, of course, our internal data is based on 2 years of history of pricing by room, by hotel, by customer category segments. And, very often the big events impact the occupation rate of our hotels, and some of these big events come back every 2 years. So we need 2 years of history to get our internal data, and we try to do the same. Now we integrate much more predictive data based on external data, and for example, we're able to capture 1.5 million events a year. And for each of these events worldwide, we are able to calculate the correlation between an event and the demand or the occupation rate of an hotel. We are able to, of course, analyze the reviews made by our customers when they have passed 1 or 2 days or 3 days within our properties. And now we are able to analyze the text of the reviews and say, okay, what is the reputation score of our hotels, not only based on the ranking in TripAdvisor or on Booking.com, but also based on the text in the reviews. And we've got a correlation, of course, with the reputation of hotels and the demand forecasting of this hotel. So we've got the price of the competition, of course, and some data about the weather, which impacts at short term the occupation of our hotels. So we use all this information We put it into a machine. We've got different layers of algorithms. The first one is to analyze the data. The second one is to forecast the demand. So we use time series to say, okay, based on that, what will be the demand on the next 405 days. Then we've got a machine learning algorithm setting the prices for each room, for each day, for each hotels. And you can imagine that we review the prices each and every day. So it's a huge amount of calculation to provide 4,000 hotels with this kind of pricing recommendation. And the last layer of algorithm is also machine learning based on channel management. Do we open the availability of our rooms to providers like Booking.com? Do we have to do it? Because we are short in occupation rate, so we need OTAs to provide us with customers. Or are we confident on the occupation rate and we don't have to pay a commission, a fee to Booking.com to fill up our hotels? Of course, everything is based on the optimization of the revenue. The KPI where the machine is learning is about the KPI of the revenue. So we did like Google did. We did a big challenge between the man versus the machine to test and learn our machine. And you can see under the 4 lines, the red one is no optimization. Imagine that during 1 year, you get the same price of the room, flat. The second one is what did the best revenue manager we've got within our community of revenue management. He's the world champ of the revenue management in AccorHotels. And he plays against the machine, and during the first phase, he plays during 2 months. During 2 months, we have developed a simulator of market with 4 different markets, representing exactly what we can observe on different markets in terms of competition aggressivity on the price, in terms of customer reliability or loyalty, in terms of events which are forecasted, etc., etc. So 4 different markets, the man with his own tool and the machine. During the first month, it's the blue line, the machine, Nero, as it was slightly under the performance of the man. After 2 months of training, he was significantly above the revenue manager. So it has been a great success. So now the next steps is not to improve our algorithms. I think that they are quite good right now. Of course, as it is machine learning, we can do it better, but so far it's good. We have to deploy these products into our hotels and find how to succeed at the transformation of our network of revenue management and general manager of hotels. This is a new challenge for us. So it's not more technical, but how to use artificial intelligence into a network of hotels who are today quite autonomous. So the key thing is to push recommendations. So each and every day in the morning, the general manager of the hotel can receive these recommendations, and he has to accept or not the recommendation. 2 advantages. The first one is he trains again the machine. Second one, he accepts this kind of relationships with the machine. And I hope that in 3 years, we will have deployed this kind of mechanism based on artificial intelligence within 50% of our hotels. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Fabrice. It was quite interesting. Just a quick question for you first is, I guess, I mean, when you mean all this data that you have to collect, internal data, it's quite complicated for a group like you because it's probably coming from a lot of different sources. So I guess your first challenge was to centralize all this data, or because I guess you might have different silos in your organization. So how can you make sure that you get all the exhaustive data that you could get on the consumer, on the reservation, on the hotels?
So we're quite lucky at AccorHotels. If I compare to my peers in other groups, we've got three main sources. The first one is the financial sources, and we're in my organization. I've got other responsibilities, which is to release all the financial statistics every month, every quarter, every year. So I've got already this source. So first source to drop into the data lake. The second one is we've got a central reservation system. Means that for 60 to 70% of our bookings, wherever they come from, we are able to capture this booking in a unique source and get into the. And around the booking, you've got the price, the hotel, the customer, etc. And the third source is that we've got a huge loyalty program with about 30 million customers in the database. So I get the customer. So with all financial figures, all the data about the bookings and all the data about the customer, as a first step, it's very easy to analyze transversally this data. I took about 9 months to set up the data lake, with the first pilot of 3 months on the first clients, and then we went into another technical solution with the same. But the flows were there. Now we have added all the external flows to get additional information, much more predictive than internal sources.
So today, that data collection for you is not an issue anymore. I mean, you can really run all the algorithm you want on the internal data. And what you said also is you have external data sources, like these events and other sources that you can add to your data, so you have more, I mean, more data at the end and more probability to get better results. That's where you stand. So what is your next challenge today? With the different things that you showed us here, what are your main challenges? Is it more like deployment, so it's making sure that hotels are going to use it, or you still need to develop, advanced solutions to improve the performance?
The challenge with the hotels are much more with the deployment of Nero, and we've deployed also mobile solution about their data, so Jim can find each morning all his figures about the top line, the customers, the web split, the repetition on his mobile with very simple application with key figures, very visual. The next challenges for us is to deploy all the data in other domains of AccorHotels, like procurement, like human resources, like audits, like maintenance. I've got a meeting next week with the boss of the maintenance on how to get predictive maintenance within our hotels. So customer is always something which is very important, and how to personalize the relationship through different channels with the customer. Hotels is revenue management, and now open new domains. What I said is how to enlarge our capabilities using data within the company.
Okay, any question from the audience? I have much more questions, but if you have some, anyone wants to start? Yes.
Yes, just a question about the customer data. How do you plan to be compliant with the GDPR?
So
So you all know what is this strange acronym, GDPR? I mean, it's the name of the European regulation on data. coming next year to be applied by all the big corporations? I mean, everybody, in fact.
So concerning the data privacy, we didn't just begin 2 months ago because of the GDPR. We have a huge privacy policy which has been set up 3 years ago. In terms of governance, we got a data governance board with 2 sub-commissions, one about the architecture and the referential and the foundation of the data, technically, and the other one which is about privacy, compliance, and ethics. And when I work with the lawyers about GDPR and what kind of liberty we've got in this trade-off between we are full compliant with a lot of constraints and we are not able to develop our relationship correctly, and we are outlaws. Okay, it's like a gray zone that we have to work in. We've seen with the lawyers that we have to be compliant. No way about that. If we're able to defend our compliance in front of the CNIL or other European institutions, for us, AccorHotels, what is the red line to not cross because of the ethic? And I take part of the ethics commission of AccorHotels, which are much more important than just the data governance board, to propose some issues about the ethics based on the privacy. But for me, compliance is behind us. We've got different action plans concerning the technology, concerning the cookies, the purges, the statement of the user, etc. But for ethics, it's more complicated for us.
Okay, any other question from the audience?
Are we able to integrate the new businesses we have acquired recently, right? So first of all, we have acquired these new businesses as startups, and we want them to stay startups. We don't want to integrate them into our enormous machine to crunch people and revenue. They're brilliant, and they're ramping up. And if we want to make sure that they are the same level of standards of security, GDPR, compliance, etc., than us, it's just impossible. We kill them. So we want them to be alive. But, of course, we can provide them with transversal inputs. And, of course, I work with them about how to use my technology or use but, for example, for Jean Paul, which is a conciergerie startup with a lot of information about their customers, and very important customers because it's Platinum and big customer of Visa and other companies like this. If we try to share the infrastructures about the data, because it's much more cost efficient, we won't share our customer data. This is different boxes.
Okay, we're going to move forward. Just to finish on this question, I mean, AccorHotels, you've been very active on acquiring startups recently. I mean, which was not the case 2 or 3 years ago. So if you're a startup, don't hesitate to come to see them. They can also invest. I mean, they make direct investment, like equity investments, and they can do acquisitions. So don't hesitate. And I think Fabrice is the right point of contact. There is some other people at Accor, but you might redirect them to the good person, I guess.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you very much, Fabrice. Thanks a lot.